It's over for Diddy. The federal indictments have finally been announced. Y'all remember a few months back when the feds raided multiple Diddy homes across state lines?
Department of Homeland Security conducting a raid at a house in Holmby Field Hills, believed to be connected to Sean Combs, the rapper and music executive, perhaps being linked to a sex trafficking investigation.
A lot of us was confused when we heard trafficking being linked to Diddy. But that's because a lot of us don't read. Because if we would have read Cassie's lawsuit, we would have seen Cassie and her lawyer vividly spell out how Diddy trafficked her and others for years. Cassie would accuse Diddy of putting her in a cycle of abuse that included violence and trafficking. She would claim that Diddy will force her to engage in sex acts with male sex workers, right? But here's the thing though, the lawyer is a cold and shrewd operator because he will spell it out as Diddy trafficking Cassie in multiple states across state lines, which will be a federal offense. When the feds raided Diddy's home, they found a lot. Apparently, Diddy's house was like a safe haven for incriminating evidence. They found multiple videotapes, documents, a lot. Apparently, it was enough to where they're now taking Diddy to a grand jury to indict him.
Since November, you'll probably remember that Combs has been named in 8 civil lawsuits, 7 directly accusing him of sexual assault. CNN's Elizabeth Wagmeister has all of this new reporting for us. Elizabeth, what more are you learning?
Good morning, Kate. So this is obviously the biggest escalation since those March raids on Diddy's homes in Los Angeles and Miami. We are now hearing that federal investigators are preparing to possibly bring witnesses in front of a federal grand jury in New York City. What we have heard is that possible witnesses have been notified that they could be called to testify.
What we're currently dealing with is an accusatory grand jury. To further explain that, the grand jury doesn't mean Diddy is officially indicted. The grand jury is to get an indictment. So the prosecutors are still feeding the grand jury information, and then once they feel like they have concluded their investigation, the grand jury makes a decision on whether or not Diddy can be indicted or if a crime ever took place. So right now the feds are not calling witnesses. However, they are feeding the grand jury information. But here's the thing. Right? Like the feds are going to be really coy, sly, and dismissive of this because a lot of these things are usually in secret. Like, for example, Keefe D, a man who's also associated with Diddy. We forget that Keefe D was actually having information sent to a grand jury in secret, and he didn't know and the public didn't know until it was time for it to be announced. In this case, Diddy is so high profile, they can't even conceal it.
Now, sources do caution that investigators are still in the process of gathering information. In fact, they are still calling in new witnesses, and they have called in some witnesses multiple times. We also hear that the majority of the accusers who have filed these civil lawsuits against Sean Diddy Combs have been brought in for questioning, and again, some of them being called in numerous times. We hear that many are cooperating and even handing over evidence that they feel could be relevant into this federal probe.
And Elizabeth, what are you learning about the evidence that investigators could be reviewing here?
So, as I mentioned, those federal raids that were conducted on his homes back in March, obviously a lot of people wondering what was seized. Well, we are learning now that federal investigators are in possession of video footage that was taken inside of Combs's residence. We hear that these investigators have been contacting individuals that they have seen on this footage.
That's important because it shows that people haven't been lying. It's been widely known as a quote-unquote secret for years that Diddy has a blackmail ring going on, that Diddy has a lot of information, tapes, and videos of people in compromising positions doing a lot of weird things to blackmail them and hold it over their head so he can have power on a lot of people in the industries, including our favorite rappers.
Media to cover up murder. The second big explosive thing that came from this document are the allegations that Diddy hosts freak-offs, essentially sexual events to procure blackmail on other people in the industry. That they all come and they have these drug-fused parties with underage boys, with underage girls. And throughout this lawsuit, he names multiple current rappers that have been involved in these parties and are therefore existing under blackmail, right? So if you can suddenly record somebody and they're hooking up with a person that is underage, if you're doing drugs and Diddy has cameras on it, well then Diddy owned you.
And that answers the questions that a lot of us have been having for years. Why do everybody in this industry fear Diddy? Why do Diddy have so much power over a lot of people? That's because Diddy is a shrewd operator, and he has a lot of your favorite people on camera doing a lot of weird stuff. But it's not just the rappers and entertainers. Apparently, Diddy and his blackmail ring actually extends to music executives.
Perhaps most crucial, though, in the lawsuit is that, unbeknownst to Lucien, Diddy also has a ton of hidden cameras all throughout his house, including in his bedroom, which would perhaps suggest that the blackmail runs both ways. Maybe he also has blackmail on Lucien Grange.
This man right here, Lucien Grange, is the most powerful music executive in 2024. That's the man who runs and owns UMG, Universal Music Group. That's the man that owns your favorite, like Drake and Taylor Swift. Like, he's a top fish. So if Diddy has information and blackmail on him in a compromising position, it's no secret that it could probably lead, the latter could probably lead to senators and politicians. Diddy was operating in a field that I don't even think we can wrap our head around. But the rabbit hole gets a lot deeper. Don't stop watching.
One person, in addition to the accusers who have filed these civil suits, is a male sex worker. That is what a source tells me, and that they have been brought in for questioning through these federal investigators. Now,
according to reports, the male sex worker caught on footage being victimized by Diddy is Jonathan Oddi. This is where the rabbit hole gets dark and really scary for Diddy. So Jonathan Oddi was arrested in 2018 or 19 for a shooting that took place at Trump's resort.
1 count of aggravated assault with a firearm, 1 count of armed burglary with a battery or an assault, 1 count of armed criminal mischief causing damages greater than $1,000, 1 count of armed grand theft, and 1 count of making a false fire alarm offense.
Now, when he was brought in for interrogation, Jonathan Oddi just started spilling the beans on Diddy out of nowhere.
I know this.
Yeah, that's what I want to know. How do you know this?
Do you know Sean Combs?
Puff Daddy?
Yeah.
P. Diddy, whatever you call himself these days. Yeah, go ahead.
Yeah, he's part of what's called the Boule. The Boule is a branch of the Illuminati.
Okay.
It's the black people. I had settlement with Sean, okay? And he belongs to that agenda. That's why he's so famous. They land all the contracts. It's his attorneys.
He mentions Diddy. He says Diddy is a part of a branch of the Illuminati, which is why Diddy is so powerful and control a lot of people with these contracts. He also claims that him and Diddy has had a settlement in the past. We will later find out it's because Diddy gave him herpes. But here's where the rabbit hole gets deeper, though. Pay attention. And when you watch this, just think in your mind, he's saying all of this back in 2019. 4 years or 5 years before Cassie came out and exposed Diddy. Pay attention.
When I take Sean the threat of death on me, okay? I don't have it, but I can make it available under secrecy. That means that I wouldn't be liable because I don't want to be getting framed for anything.
He claims he has evidence that could incriminate Diddy and he could produce it, but it has to be secret because he fears for his life. Now, he explains exactly what he means by this.
Okay. I had sex with Cassie and Sean. Basically, he would masturbate and tell me what to do with Cassie. I had like 15 encounters, and I heard a lot of business. Because what they would do is Sean talks a lot on the phone and on the TV with speakers and stuff, and I was like a sex slave, okay?
Diddy was loose around this guy because he trusted him for whatever reason. Like, bro, he's a male escort. Why would you trust this man to speak about business near him? But he claims that he knows a lot of information about Diddy that the public don't know. A lot of business information, a lot of secrets that Diddy would just loosely talk about around him because he trusts him. I mean, listen, bro, you trust a man to put penis in your girl. You could probably trust him with a couple of secrets. But now he's offering up those secrets to the prosecutors, looking, to work with them so he could get off his case.
For them, that's what I was. That's all right? I caught herpes, and I came back and I sued him for the herpes and won. But they did Mark Eros and Ben Mercedes were his attorneys, okay? And Christopher Leon's here was my attorney. They asked me to turn in that, which was the video recording, and I did so. They gave it back to me accidentally, and it's possible, I threw everything out, it's possible I can produce a copy.
Gotcha.
It's possible, I'm not sure.
He's the whistleblower. A lot of people get it confused and mixed up that Cassie was the catalyst for the feds to raid Diddy's home. No, the feds don't move that fast, at all. This man has been working with the feds for years. The feds have been investigating Diddy for years. Now, Diddy lawyers accidentally gave him footage of him and Diddy and Cassie being involved after he won the lawsuit of Diddy giving him herpes. But what is odd is this, right? Is the feds now got him cooperating. He can testify that Diddy sex trafficked him. Diddy paid him money to have sex with Cassie and flew him all across state lines to engage in sex trafficking and sex acts with Cassie for paper. That is sex trafficking. But it gets deeper than that, though. That man is an eyewitness to hearing Diddy over the phone talk about a lot of business and a lot of secrets and a lot of where the skeletons is buried. That man right there is the whistleblower that's going to take down Diddy.
When the one person, in addition to the accusers who have filed these civil suits, is a male sex worker. That is what a source tells me, and that they have been brought in for questioning through these federal investigators. Now,
he's the male sex worker in that footage. He's the one that Diddy apparently liked enough to invite over 15 plus times. Obviously one of Diddy's favorites. Now, here's the thing, though. The feds are saying that this is just not about sex trafficking, that this is about much more. And the whistleblower who heard a lot of the information Diddy was gossiping about or relaying, he's going to be the key that gets Diddy out of here.
The raids first happened, we had a law enforcement source tell us at CNN that the investigation was largely based in sex trafficking, which is what HSI specializes in. Now we are hearing that that scope has been widened and that investigators are really looking into all of these claims put forth in these civil lawsuits. That would include not just sex trafficking, but also money laundering and illegal drugs. I have a source who tells me, quote, "This is much bigger than just these lawsuits."
This is bad. I expect Diddy to be indicted within 90 days. It's over with, man. This is some huge drama. But if you have an appetite for more drama, click on this video right here to find out how these really dumb interviewers got destroyed by Adam22 and Trap La Ross on their own podcast. Click on this video here to find out what I'm talking about. I'm out of here, folks. Peace.